So last time I did a personality test, which is the 16personality.com. It came out as 90% introvert, which I was actually not that surprised by. It kind of makes sense, but it's just weird when you actually see the number on your personality. And despite being a massive introvert, I've been able to build an agency that's giving me the freedom to work from wherever I want, whenever I want, on my own conditions, but also make more money than I could once ever dream of. But when I started my business, I actually thought that being an introvert was a big negative thing, like a disadvantage, because I would see all of these, online entrepreneurs on YouTube and social media, and they would be so straightforward, like confident, very guru-like, doing sales calls, sharing their sales calls online. And I would always think like, oh man, I am not like this. And I would be discouraged. I would think I need to be more like these guys in order to be successful with my business. But what I've now actually realized after running my business for the last 5 years is that being an introvert is not a disadvantage. It actually has turned into one of my greatest strengths. And my personality type has actually turned into my greatest strength because I have designed a business around my personality and something that really suits me. And it turns out to work extremely well. You can be a massive introvert and still see success with business. You don't need to be this super charismatic or confident, loud type of person to be successful. And my goal with this video is that by the end of it, if you are an introvert, you will look at your type of personality as advantages so that you can actually use them to grow your business and design a life that you actually want to live, that you will love waking up to, and that you deem sustainable for who you are as a person. But if you're more extroverted, the lessons that I will share with you in this video will give you an insight into how introverts operate, because I'm a massive introvert, and that will probably help you a lot in terms of hiring and building a team. Down the line, it probably is many positions in your company and probably a few key ones where you should probably look for someone who's not like you, probably someone who's more introverted. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly why that is. So before we get into the video, I think it's important to just really define the difference between being introverted and extroverted. I know there are some common misconceptions around this. I know a lot of people think being an introvert means that you are shy and you are socially awkward. That is actually not what introversion is. Introversion and extroversion is more about where you get energy. So as an example, me as an introvert, when I work and when I need to do creative projects, I need to be alone. I need to sit and script my videos by myself. I can't have a lot of noises and things going on around me. Even now, as I'm filming this video, I'm on this balcony and there's no one in this house. There's no one in the garden in front of me. I need to be totally alone because that is how I operate best. And of course, making a video is probably something most people would like to do alone, but also in terms of writing, deep work where I really need to concentrate. For me to operate at my highest level, I need to have peace around me. I need to be alone. I also get drained by being very social. So for example, this morning I went for a running event with a bunch of people, met a lot of great, amazing humans, and it was super fun. But I already feel now, a couple hours later, that I need to recharge a little bit. I need some time for myself to recharge. And if I've been doing a lot of social things for a while, I need to spend maybe a day or a couple days, not necessarily alone, but with the people that are the closest to me. I can't have too many new people around me for prolonged periods of time, because then I would just burn out and I will get extremely drained. Now, I also get my energy from, being by myself, reading, going for walks, spending time with close friends and family. That's where I get my energy. That's where I recharge, become more creative, and have greater output in terms of work. While extroverts is pretty much the opposite of all that. So of course I can't really speak to how it feels to be an extrovert because I'm not, but based on what I've learned and what I've seen around me, extroverted people is pretty much just the opposite of me. They get the energy from being around a lot of people. They operate better when there's, a lot of stuff going on around them. They like to work with people surrounding them, even creative stuff. And of course, there's a spectrum here. It's not like you're either an introvert or you're an extrovert. I think most people will probably be somewhere on the spectrum, not all the way on fully extroverted or all the way on fully introverted. But the key thing to understand here is that it's not about like socially awkwardness or shyness or anything like that. It's more about energy and, the best environment that you can have for work in this context. So let me take you back to the early stages when I started my business. Back then, I actually thought that my personality type was a huge disadvantage. I remember I hated doing sales and outreach and getting rejected as I tried to like establish my social media marketing agency and get clients. And I was so sensitive to, the rejections that I got. Even when I got positive replies and people wanted to hop on sales calls with me, I would be so, shy, and I would be so nervous. And of course, that's not just because of introversion. I think even as an extrovert, if you're starting out, you're probably not comfortable with this. But I think adding on to the discomfort of starting out, being an introvert and not really getting energy from making new connections, it was more like draining energy for me. It made it a little bit of an extra challenge. But I think because of this discomfort that I had and the fear that I had of sales and, getting clients, it actually turned into a big advantage for me. Because what I ended up doing was preparing a lot. Before I hopped on sales calls or before I sent out messages to new potential prospects, I would do a lot of research. I would kind of understand what type of people that run the companies. I would gather a lot of background information to really understand the business and what they're currently doing so that I would be prepared to hop on a sales call with them and actually know what's going on. So I could answer questions and I could be more comfortable in that setting by preparing a lot. And by preparing a lot, I learned a lot about marketing. I got to see all the different things these businesses were doing. Without even working with most of them, I would learn so much from the research process that I did. And being able to sit alone in a room and do deep research, that's where I thrive. So even though I wasn't super comfortable hopping on a sales call, because I was so comfortable doing all the deep research and the preparation before the call, the calls actually went extremely well. And I would end up impressing a lot of prospects by just doing a lot of preparation because they just weren't used to that. They weren't used to people actually understanding what was going on in the business without them first paying someone, right? So all that stress that I had actually turned into me over preparing, which then actually led to me getting more clients, closing more deals, without even being pushy or salesy or anything. I would just prepare and really understand the companies. And back then I didn't think that this was like anything not normal. I thought this was really how most people would do it. But actually turns out now 5 years in this industry, I know that a lot of agencies, they don't really prepare a lot. Their client communication is not really good. And they hop on sales calls and they just try to pitch. They don't really listen that well. And that's my next point that I want to get into. When I got my first few clients, I was very nervous to, hop on the client calls and the strategy calls that I had with them and not be on top of everything that was going on and being able to answer their questions. So because I had this stress around hopping on calls with them, I would go above and beyond in terms of really understanding every detail about the strategy that we applied for them. So why we run certain ads, why we run certain tests, what I think about this different metrics. I would go so deep on this, and that made me learn a lot faster. So that's one thing. But it also made the client experience a lot better because anytime they could like send me a message, ask me questions, and I would be on top of that. Me being on top of that came from, sure, a bit of fear and stress because of my personality type, but that actually was a big advantage for me. And I didn't really know it was an advantage until one of the clients that I got amazing results from. Like we scaled them to above and beyond what they had ever done before with Facebook ads. And I remember one day I started doing bigger numbers. One of the big known agencies in Norway had reached out to them and tried to sell them their service. And because they're so known in the space, my client at the time thought the next step would be to go with a bigger, famous agency. So he sent me a message, essentially, and we hopped on a call and he said like he appreciated the amazing results and all the good work, but now they wanted to work with, a bigger agency essentially. And at the time that was extremely painful for me because I had gone such above and beyond with the delivery of my service, and not just that, but the results were amazing. So when they left, that hurt me a lot. I remember I was even almost crying during this time. I really thought that this client would stick with me for a long, long time. So they left me, but then 2 weeks later, I get an email from the founder, and he says, "Hey man, I'm so sorry. It's so much better to work with you. The experience we had during the onboarding with this agency was so horrible. So if it's okay with you, can we go back to restarting our partnership? And that's really when I started understanding my advantages there, because I didn't really know how any other agencies operated. But what I now understood is that the client experience with these bigger agencies are usually a lot worse than what it is working personally with me. And that's when I realized, like, wow, okay, I actually have a big advantage in terms of how I operate my agency, how on top of things I am, and how well I communicate with my clients. But prior to this, I had no idea that this was an advantage. But it wasn't really until this happened that I started to understand that, wow, okay, there is something about how I deliver my service that my clients really value. And that's different to how most other agencies out there do it. And now, 5 years looking back, it's even more clear to me. I was successful early on because of my sensitivity and my extreme introversion, because I would notice things that other people would probably miss. And I was a really good listener. I didn't say much unnecessary stuff. I didn't do small talk on meetings, but I was really great at listening to my clients' concerns, challenges, and that would allow me to go deep and really understand what my clients' true struggles were, and everything else that was going on in their business, so that I can develop a marketing strategy that was fully aligned with that. So listening is one of the things that turned into my biggest strength. And if you read the book Quiet from Susan Cain, I highly recommend that book, by the way. If you're slightly introverted, definitely read this book. It's going to be probably one of the most beneficial books for you. She states very clearly that introverts have a natural skill to listen, and not just listen, but understand on a deeper level with the people they're communicating with. And this is such an underrated skill when it comes to sales, but also client retention. So in a sales context, I hated hopping on sales calls and feeling like I need to put myself out there and really push and try to close this deal. So what I ended up doing naturally was just really hopping on the call and just listening really carefully to what the problems they had. And I'm not saying I did this perfectly. And back then, I didn't even think that this was a strategy. This was just naturally how I communicated. I didn't talk over people. I just let my prospects talk. But this then allowed me to fully understand what troubles they were going through and what they were really struggling with. And I closed most of the sales calls that I hopped on back then. So I never really had any problems closing sales, because I was just listening, restating their issues, and then giving them a super aligned solution to their current problem. And now, knowing a little bit more about sales, this is actually one of the best sales strategies you can do. If the prospect feels that you're actually listening to them and you fully understand their problem, and then you present a solution that aligns with that problem, it's very likely you're going to close the sale. So back then, I didn't know that was how you do it, but that's just an advantage I had because of my personality type. And on the retention side, which is even more important when it comes to building an agency, retaining clients, that is something that I was also really good at early on. Sure, I did lose a few clients, but that was just because early on you have to kind of take on almost anything you can get to get started. And also because I didn't outsource too much back then. I remember I tried to outsource some of it and, hire someone in India to help me out. But during this process, I would lose track of what was going on, and that was extremely uncomfortable. I always wanted to stay on top of everything that was going on, because when I hopped on my client calls, this was essential for me to feel comfortable. I didn't enjoy hopping on calls with clients. It was scary to me. It was always uncomfortable. So by staying on top of everything that was going on and actually delivering the service myself, made me feel way more secure and confident when I hopped on these calls. So my client experience became a lot better than probably most of my competitors. And of course, this not only led to me keeping clients, it also made my clients refer me more clients. So I didn't have to do as much sales. I would get clients from referrals. And that was something that, was way more aligned with how I wanted to operate. I didn't like going out there and pitching, businesses that I didn't really necessarily know much about. I would rather have qualified leads coming to me and asking me for help, so that I don't feel like I need to sell them on a call, because I don't like pushing a sale. I just want the sale to naturally develop through, me having the solution and listening and understanding your problem. And then the transaction between us just naturally happens. But in saying all this, there's also a big dark side to being a sensitive introvert when it comes to business. And that is, you will probably burn out a lot easier. Because you are so sensitive to, all these inputs, and you really want to deliver a high quality service, that also makes you more inclined to burning out. not taking breaks, not setting boundaries with your clients, and trying to deliver results for clients that are literally impossible to deliver results for, because you cannot control everything with the clients that you're working with. So for me, a lot of times I had, countless of stressful days and sleepless nights, and a lot of really, really unenjoyable periods of running my business. And very often it almost broke me. I almost quit, wanted to give up several times, because I would be so fucking sensitive when the results weren't as good as the client wanted it to be. I would always think that is my fault fully, and I would feel so responsible for that, and that would stress me out so bad. And this prolonged stress is just not sustainable and not healthy. And sure, if you're an introvert, you have some massive advantages, but you're only going to be able to take advantage of those if you're able to sustain and continue to run your business for a long time, because that's really when these advantages compound. When you have delivered a good client experience for a long time and delivered results, that is when you start to get referrals and your business starts growing. So what I ended up having to do at some point was, number one, learning to say no. So that was learning to know when to be unavailable for client requests. That was a big one for me. I used to just have my phone on me all the time, answer Slack all the time, and never really take my mind off my business. And that was a lot because of the stress I felt and responsibility and sensitivity I felt in regards to my clients' experience, but also my clients' results. And this is something that early on is probably essential. I think going back, I would not do that differently. I would still go above and beyond with how I deliver my service, because that's how I got to where I am today. But once you get to a certain stage, what got you to that stage is not what's going to get you to the next stage in business. So when you're making, consistently 10K per month, being able to set boundaries and protect your peace is what allows you to have energy to go and do the needle moving tasks that will take you to the next level. This might mean letting go of stressful clients. That is something that's very hard, and that's a difficult conversation you need to have, because the client was probably not understand why you would let them go, right? Why you would stop taking their money. But the thing is, at some point, you need to value your peace and your mental bandwidth over short-term cash. If you constantly prioritize short-term cash, that is going to stress you out. You're going to feel good after the sale, but then you're going to get stressed out. And in my case, I at some point had so many stressful clients that I just totally did not enjoy running my business at all. And luckily, I was able to see this, and I was able to understand that this isn't sustainable. And over time, I started to let go of some clients. And this then led me to having more energy to actually serve the clients that were more enjoyable to work with, but also attract more of those type of clients, and say no to the ones that had some red flags early on in the sales process. For example, they're trying to negotiate down the price. They're really trying to, they're coming off as really arrogant and not super respectful, not respectful of your time, peace, and how you operate. So if you see those red flags, just say no, especially if you're in a place where you don't need to take on another client. Really try to think is this someone you really want to work with long term? Even if it's a great opportunity from the outside, is this something for you specifically, for your personality type, that would make sense to invest energy, emotional energy, and a lot of effort in? Because in my opinion, having a big business that's making a lot of money, but it's just fucking making you so stressed out that you don't enjoy life, that is just not worth it. And that is probably what your business will turn into if you aren't intentional about how to develop and design your business to actually suit your personality type. And I really had to learn this the hard way. I worked with clients that were constantly nagging me, sending me Slack messages and wanting updates all the time, requesting meetings at any time that was convenient for them, not really considering that I might be busy. And yeah, I worked with those kind of clients for a few years before now. I only have clients that I really, truly enjoy working with. And it's a luxury to be in this position. You probably have to eat some shit for a couple of years like I did to really get the ball rolling and build a momentum. But at some point, definitely that's what you want to design for if you want to enjoy your company and build something that's sustainable for you. So for me, setting boundaries is essential. Understand that you need to set these boundaries, not because you're not ambitious or hardworking, but because you understand on a deep level that to scale your business, you cannot operate in a stressed environment. You need to have an environment where you operate at your absolute best. And that is the only way you can scale with your personality type. And also, that is the only way you really want to scale. You don't want to build a headache business. You want to build something that fuels your lifestyle, fuels how you want to live, and something that you enjoy waking up to and working on. So to be a little bit more practical, here's a few tips I have to how you can make your business more sustainable. So the 3 things I did to make my business more sustainable was, number 1, being more selective of clients. And of course, again, you can't be selective when you're starting out. But if you plan to build a business where you can be selective, then I would do like I did. And I started building a YouTube channel where I shared a lot of value for free. And that then led to a lot of inbound leads coming to me. Inbound means that they've already like consumed my content. They already kind of know who I am, and they're booking in the call with me. It's not me going out there trying to sell them. So when you have a lot of inbound lead flow, you can be way more selective because you don't need to go out there and do sales and spend money on doing sales. The leads just come to you, and then you just cherry pick the ones that you see an opportunity with, and you see people that actually align with how you operate and how you want to serve those clients. And also, when you create content inbound, you're probably going to attract clients that align with how you are as a human. I've had so many discovery calls where people like tell me they hop on the call with me because they really enjoy how I communicate, who they see me as a person, because they've consumed so many videos. So inbound lead flow gives you not only selectivity, but it actually almost self-selects what type of leads come in, which is great. Now, the other thing I did was outsourcing the things that I do not enjoy. And I think this is key. You need to focus on your strengths. The beautiful thing in business is that the weaknesses you have, you can just hire someone else to do those things. So for me, one thing that was extremely energy draining and not really giving me much was the creative execution for my clients. So graphic design, video editing for my clients' ads. That was something that really drained me and something that I understood would not make my agency sustainable because I didn't like to do that myself. I was good at it. I have developed a lot of skills in video editing and creating ads and graphic design, but it was not something that was giving me energy. It was draining me. So I understood that, to make my business more sustainable, I need to hire for this. So I spent a lot of time looking for candidates, and I ended up hiring a girl that does the creative process for my clients. That allows me to focus more on a high-level strategy. So like deciding what ideas to create ads for, but then she actually goes and executes on that. So I protect my peace and can allocate my energy to what I enjoy the most, which is more high-level strategy and creating YouTube videos and attracting clients and sharing value on YouTube. But that's just one example of what you can outsource for. I've also outsourced a lot of manual work to my virtual assistant that just doesn't make sense for me to do myself, so that I can actually spend my time, energy, and focus on the things that move the needle the most for my agency. And the thing is, you can probably hire a lot earlier than you think if you're just willing to sacrifice some short-term margin to build a bigger agency where you make the money back. And for me, early on, this was extremely difficult. Giving up some of the money I was making and having a lower profit margin, that was something that was so uncomfortable. But now, having done that for, a couple years, I'm so much more comfortable just sacrificing some revenue to have a more enjoyable business to run. And I think you just need to get over that hurdle, hire for a few positions, really feel the value of not having to do the things you don't enjoy doing. And then you'll probably also make the money back. That's the crazy thing. Like, somebody else that enjoys that process more than you can do it, do a better job, and then your agency makes more money, which is the beautiful thing here. And the last and maybe most important thing is learning to set boundaries. I think as an introvert or a sensitive person running a business, it's very likely you'll turn into a bit of a people pleaser. And for me, that very often happened with my clients. I would try to please all of them. I wanted all of them to be happy. I wanted all of the results to be good. And that would drain me. And the thing is, not everybody can be pleased. Some clients are just fucking impossible to please. As much as you do, as much effort as you put in, they just seem to not see it or care about it. And they just ask for more. And those clients, you need to set boundaries with. You need to tell them, hey, this is going beyond the scope of what we initially set out for this project, so I cannot do this. And learning to say no is a really important skill. And it's not because you're lazy or you don't want to deliver a good experience. It's just you're running a business here. there needs to be set boundaries. If not, you're just going to dig yourself into a hole that it's going to be very hard to get out of. Now, extroversion also has great advantages, and I think we've all seen this. The charismatic, loud speaking, great sales guy that just so good at talking, and just everything they say comes off so clear and crisp and punchy. Closing deals. We've all seen these people. They're all online. They're all out there posting their sales calls and showing off. And don't get me wrong, these are great advantages. These people are probably much better at networking. They can just go when it comes to networking events and make all the connections, ask for the introductions, ask for the high price points, negotiate a better deal. These are huge advantages in business. But I think as an introvert, it's easier to learn the skills that extroverts naturally have compared to the other way around. I think it's harder to learn the skill of being able to sit for 3 hours straight and do deep research compared to knowing how to network, ask for connections, and being charismatic. These things you can learn, you can train. And again, the beautiful thing about business is you can always hire for your weaknesses. You can fill in your blind spots by hiring for them. And these are often the best businesses out there. When you have two partners, one that is solely focused on product or service, one that sits for hours by himself just perfecting the service or perfecting the product. And then you have the other person that's out there marketing, selling, networking to really put the product or the service out in the world. But again, if you don't want to partner with someone to fill in your weaknesses, I still think it's a lot easier to learn the skills of an extrovert compared to an extrovert learning the skills of an introvert. So to conclude this video, if you are an introvert like me, lean into your strengths. Okay, there are not disadvantages. For me, there have been huge advantages, and it's led me to have the life that I currently have. Go above and beyond with the service delivery and the value you create for your clients, because that is usually where your advantage is going to be. But remember, in the process of doing so, protect your peace. That's the only way you can lean into these advantages, because they only compound over time. You need to consistently deliver value over time before you start to get referrals and leads coming to you. And that for me is where I've been able to excel, when I don't have to go out there and sell and do cold outreach, but I just have leads coming to me. And remember this, you don't have to change who you are. You just have to build a business and design that business around who you are as a person. Now, if you found this video helpful or you felt inspired by it in any way and you want to follow along for more of the content I'm going to post here surrounding, business building, but in the context of building a business that actually sustains your lifestyle and is aligned with how you want to spend your time, effort, and energy, then yeah, go ahead and subscribe. And I would love for you to comment down below and let me know what personality type you have and how you are using that to your advantage and how you're designing your business around that. I'll answer every comment that I get on this channel. So yeah, connect with me there. Thanks so much for watching. And thank you for being part of this YouTube journey. The last video I posted on this channel got a lot of amazing feedback, where I talked more about the importance of building with community of like-minded people. If you haven't watched that already, I'll put it up on the screen now. I truly appreciate all the amazing feedback, all the deep and meaningful messages that I got from people watching that. It means the world to me. So yeah, thank you guys for being a part of this. Putting yourself out there on YouTube is not, I've been doing it for the agency for a long time, posting meta ads content on another channel, but doing this type of content where I'm going a little bit deeper into myself as a person, who I truly am, and building this channel is definitely a lot more of a challenge, but it is also super meaningful because of all of the great feedback and seeing all of the people that I've been able to inspire just by a few videos so far. So yeah, thank you so much, and there will be a lot more content coming.